It suits. Attire for all occasions. North Point Business Park, Blackpool, Cork. Proud sponsors of All That Matters Chat Show.
Recording. Hello, and you're very welcome to the Cork Matters Chat Show with Eugene Quinn. Tonight, my guest on this chat show is a very prominent Corkman. He's known as Michael Moriarty, better known and better loved as the Baldy Barber. So it's great to meet you, Michael. How are you getting on?
I'm very good, Eugene. And yourself?
Not too bad at all, Mick. I tell you, Mick, what we're going to say to you is well, we'll start off with basically what way things were for yourself. So how was life for you growing up in Cork as a young man?
Well, I was born in 1948 in the main street in Ballincollig, and we lived there for 8 years. And we left and we went into Blackpool. My mother was a Ballincollig woman, and my father was a Northsider. He had a barber shop in Merchants Quay since 1937. But growing up in Ballincollig, before we left, there was about 450 people living in Ballincollig, which is a very big town now today. It's 25,000 roughly in Ballincollig. But growing up as a young fella, up to 10 years of age, you nearly knew everyone in the village, as was called at that time. Even my friends today still call it the little village of Ballincollig, those who were originals in Ballincollig, you know. Mm-hmm. But of course, we had the famous people there. We had Willie Murphy, the long puck. We had Dennis Reardon. We had the Dooley and Paddy O'Mahony brothers, who were bowl players. And we had Dennis Reardon, who played with the Glen. And we had John Collin, the famous soccer player. And he was a big influence on me when I was a young player, because I was mad about soccer, more so than GA. It's amazing, like, you know. And when I moved into the city then as a young player, I went to the Northman School. And I was still besotted by soccer. And even though I started following the Glen Rovers, and I played a small bit with them, but again, and St. Nick's. But it was mostly in Blackpool that I had the love of soccer. And I in the Northman, it was all GA course. And, you know, but I was never good enough to be any of the hurling teams. I played in my class team, all right. You know, I was always picked for that. I wasn't too bad, but I was never a star. Yeah. But we had two great players in our team. We had Teddy O'Brien, who played with Cork, and we had Kevin O'Leary, who played with Cork Hibernians. And Kevin was more into GA than he was into the soccer. It's amazing. He played more soccer, but he preferred the GA, he said. But I think he got a few bob to play with Cork Hibernians. But we went into Blackpool, and Blackpool was it was a complete change. You're now becoming a city slicker, you know. But it was wonderful. But going back to Ballincollig, I remember years ago when we were kids, McFadden's used to come. They were the travelling show, and they used to come along maybe every 12 months or 2 years, and they'd have their pictures being shown, and they'd have all the different things that would happen in a circus, and they might have a few little donkeys and things like that. But we used to be thrilled with it. It was fabulous, you know. And we walked everywhere. I mean, it was, we went to Cork City, I said, twice a year, you know. We went to Cork City during the summer show, which was for the farmers. And we would go down into Stevens's Day. We would walk from our house in Ballincollig into the Model Farm Road. And we would get the number 5 bus into the city with my father. And we would go down to a shop in Merchants Quay. And we would walk around the city for hours. We used to be fascinated by the shops, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. Ballincollig was actually classed as a village. And now it has one of the highest populations of anywhere in Cork. Right? It's even in Munster. And
yes,
Carrigaline was another place actually that was classed as a village as well, wasn't it?
It was, yes. And I think there's about 18,000 in Carrigaline now at the moment, presently. But I think Ballincollig is around 26,000. Well, Ballincollig was a garrison town, just like Athlone and Fermoy and places like that, you know. And it was a one-sided town, actually, Ballincollig, because on one side were all the houses, and on the other side you had the barracks. And of course, when we were kids, we used to go into the barracks, sneak into the barracks, playing handball. But we would all the soldiers, because I'd be playing around with the soldiers' sons, Eamon O'Mara and Jackie O'Mara, who now live in your part of the world up in Nina.
Well, I'm actually a Thurles man myself.
I know you are.
Yeah. I'm a Thurles man myself. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a great pal out of mine ongoing. When I was 14 years of age, I went away to be a Christian brother, and one of the lads who was from Thurles, Joe O'Connor. I know that he lived, even though I haven't seen Joe for years, I know he lived on the way up to the
I think
pitch.
what I know, it was a Joe Connors. He actually was involved in boxing. I think, saying that I was from Thurles, if you see the background behind me, right, you see
that's your cathedral, that's your church, that's right.
No, that's not the cathedral.
Oh, is that
the
graveyard?
Down further, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you one thing now about the cathedral in a minute. But that's St. Mary's Church. That's the Church of Ireland Church. And in there is buried in the grounds of that Lady Diana's great grandmother.
I'll go away over that. Very good.
So that's a bit of, now
that's a nice bit of history.
The cathedral is down further, right? And whether you know it or not, you know you're in the Diocese of Cork, right?
Yes.
Now, the Diocese of Cork is governed by the Archdiocese of Cashel and Emly.
Quite correct. That's right.
And the seat of the Archdiocese of Cashel and Emly is in Thurles. So we run everything from Thurles here.
As usual. No wonder you're great.
We run everything, like, you know.
No wonder, great hurlers. Yeah.
Yeah, so you still come up to Thurles yourself, of course, with some great. It was the atmosphere of town, wasn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. I remember going to Limerick to see in the early 60s and going to the matches. And every time we went to Limerick, all I can remember is that coming home crying. Tipperary would win again. Until John Doyle, Jimmy Doyle, Theo English. They were fantastic people. Devaney, all these people. Fabulous players.
Actually, would you believe it? I thought a late cousin, a cousin of mine was actually married to Liam Devaney's daughter.
Oh, he was a fantastic player. One of the best ever.
Yeah, and he was asked to join Thurles Sarsfields, and he never did. He always stuck with Borsallee. He was a Borsallee man.
That's right.
True. And I tell you, if there was transfer fees at the time, he would have refused it.
Yeah. That's like Dennis Reardon, who played with Ballincollig as a young fella. And my mother's first cousins were all, into Ballincollig GA. My uncle Francis, actually my granduncle, used to make the slitters for Ballincollig, you know, and at the time, and for Cork as well. But I tell you, when Dennis Reardon signed for the Glen Rovers, oh my God, and he's a nice guy, but they never forgave him, even though they speak to him today. But that's the way it went. You don't forget the war, you know. The battle might be over, but they let you know anyway, you know. So, but anyway, I went to school. I went to school in Artman, and it was great when they were in the 4th class and 5th and 6th. And then, as I said, at 14, I went to be a Christian brother in 1963. I spent 2.5 years. And actually, in fact, recently we have teamed up again with all the lads who went to Carrigley out in Dunleary in 1963. I was there in 1965. But I enjoyed it. So my ambition was to go to India teaching.
Was it?
But that was my ambition. But I suppose I saw a few of the girls walking around Dunleary, and that changed my mind. And a guy from Tom Ryan from Templemore, went into the bank after, and we're still friends today. And we're always in touch with others still. We still talk about the girls as we used to see walk around Dunleary Golf Club on a Sunday morning.
And is he bank manager in Templemore still, or where is he?
No, he's retired. He's retired from the bank. He's not like me, still walking away. You know, 55 years now cutting hair.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Mick, what I was going to actually say to you is this: through your life, being what you were born in 1948, did I get it right?
Yes.
Yeah, 1948. So that makes you 11 years older than me. What I'm going to say to you is this: what are the people who you met through your life to influence your decisions in life or to the point where you are today?
Well, my father was a great man. In fairness, he was ahead of his time in certain things within our game, in the barbering. He was fantastic, full of common sense, never overextended his limitations. Very, very practical. He was actually a founder member of the Blackpool Community Centre with a lot of people, Vincent O'Connell, and who was a politician in Cork. And they set up the first community centre in Cork in 1963. And he was always remembered well for his common sense. And he was also on the board of the Blackpool Credit Union later. And people would come in and they might be borrowing money, and he would say, no, go to the auction and you might get something for half the price or even 25% less or something like that. He was always very, very practical about things. He would say, we'll give you the money, but he said, if you go to an auction and you search for something, you mightn't have to waste your money. But he was a big influence. But then there was a man called Liam French, whose brother was a politician. And Liam was the chairman of the Cork Harbour Board. He was a great customer of mine. And he was very influential in with me as well, because he was to give me fierce advice for nothing. And another man was Peter Butler, after my father dying in 78. He died a young man, 61 years of age. And Peter Butler was a foreman down in Ford's, and he's been for a haircut every 6 or 8 weeks. And he was a great man. And I loved, he reminded me so much of my father. He was absolutely, but there are two great people that I enjoyed in life.
Keeping Cork men's hair in great shape. For 84 years, it'll only be the Baldy Barber, Blackpool, Cork City.
Going on, Mick, going on about the barbering, right? I set up your barber shop in Blackpool, right? AKA still known and loved as the Baldy Barber. But let's be honest, Mike, in your 50 years plus barbering, right? Is that what you said? How many years you barbering?
Yes,
50 years?
55,
right?
55.
55. You must have looked down on a few famous heads, a few famous scalps in your day.
I did. One of the people that I did meet was the sheik, the consultant, he was a consultant to the Sheik of Oman. His two sons were studying in Cork. Ali was studying to be a doctor, and he went back. And the other lad, the younger lad, who I never met, was going to school in Prez. But Ali always insisted that to his father and mother, when they come over, and unfortunately his poor mother was very, very sick, and what they call it at the time. But I never met her. But they came back another day in the shop, and I did meet him. But the father was the consultant, the surgeon waiting to the Sheik of Oman. He was one person that I would say of world renown.
Yeah.
And I also had Cilla Black in my barber shop.
A Laura crack there, had you?
Surprise.
I heard something about it. What happened with that surprise show? Did she arrive into your barber shop?
It wasn't for me. It was for a lady up the road who was an Irish dancer, and her brother, a woman called Kitty O'Donovan. Yeah. And they wanted to give her, they were looking for someone in the area, and I nominated Kitty as a surprise. And herself and her husband, Bobby, were lovely, lovely people. And this is going on for about 4 or 5 weeks before these shows, as you know yourself, Eugene. You're asked to say nothing. So what you call it, I did. And I said nothing. It was a big surprise. Even the only other person I told was my wife. You had to flip it. I couldn't keep everything to myself.
Or you couldn't keep a secret, like.
No. But that was fantastic. And I was absolutely great. Marion Finucane was a person who gave me a great break on the radio, because my late father had a cure for alopecia. And alopecia is where the hair falls out in patches. Yeah. And I never forget the 22nd of December. Oh, flip it, it's a long time ago. It's 25 years ago. I said 28. When I had sent the bottle of lotion off to Princess Caroline of Monaco. Oh, yeah. And Marion Finucane picked it. Isn't it? That's quite correct. Yeah. And what they call it, Marion Finucane picked it up. And I sat on the 23rd of December on a Monday, because Sunday we were out for a few pints with my in-laws, and I had to do an interview at about 8:30 after being out since 4 o'clock that afternoon, having a scatter of muffins, and a few chops of chips.
The pain of it.
And I did the interview anyway, and went off grand. But so the following morning I had to do a live interview, but I couldn't tell anyone if any other radio station. So the Examiner the following morning was the headlines: Baldy Barber sends his lotion to Princess Caroline of Monaco to help cure her alopecia. Now, one of the English papers picked it up as well, and they did a story on it. But the monarchy wouldn't say whether they got the lotion or not. But thanks be to God for Princess Caroline, her hair did come back. I have sold a lot of that lotion. It's all natural ingredients, thank God, and I've helped a lot of people down through the years. But the funny thing, Eugene, is that no, not a chance, not a chance. But the funny thing is, like, at the time, all the lads would be taking the piss out there, like,
Yeah.
Geez, you're a hard man. Yeah, you are sending lotion off to cure people for baldness, and look at yourself. But I said, as you don't realize that alopecia is a disease, And I never forget the local radio at the time, Neil Prindeville, and Mick Mulcahy. They were trying to set me up, about the alopecia. And of course, I would be a serious guy when I met work. I like to be in control in my shop, And I knew that these guys, when the phone rang, I said, I'm trying to be a cat here, but I was too quick for them, and they couldn't run the show. They couldn't run it, It was great.
Oh, yeah. They kind of got rid of the wind-ups and things like that, didn't they? It used to be great crack.
The crew wind-up were brilliant. And Mick Mulcahy was absolutely fantastic, He did one day about a woman outside in Macroom, and it was Martin Mullins, who's on the radio with Prindeville, and his mother-in-law, my love and God. How she left her son-in-law into the house, I don't know, because Mullen is a hard man, And then there was a farmer out that way as well, but his dogs, that went all over the world, that show,
with the poodle.
Yeah.
No, the one with the poodle, right? Remember the one with the poodle? Well, the best one I heard, and I thought your man would have copped onto it at the time, but he came on and he said he was from what we call today the road traffic authority, the driving schools, where they give the driving lessons. And he came on as the name as Tom Aunt. And if anyone was quick enough, they'd have copped it, Tom Aunt, the Irish, for driving, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, that's right, yeah. That's right.
He went through your man for a shortcut, by.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. But in the business, it's great. I was the first person to ban smoking in my barber shop the 1st of May 1990.
Yeah,
well before me
got his foot in the door.
Quite correct. And I remember when Micheál became Minister for Health, I was at the Nordman dinner, and he said, well, he said, I've banned smoking. He said, but he said, there's a ban in this room. He said, and fair dues to him, he said, he banned it. He said, before I did, he said, it was ahead of his time. And I can tell you, smoking was a terrible thing in the barbershop, because once you open the shop in the morning at 8 o'clock, you're smoking all day. I had a triple bypass 5 years ago, and when the operation, it was an emergency, and a few weeks after I went back to see the heart specialist, and he said, Michael, he says, you'll have to stop smoking. So I don't smoke at all. He said, what? Well, he said, I was fully convinced you were doing at least 15 cigarettes a day after the passive smoking. And that's 30 years ago, So, that'll tell you the effect.
Yeah, it does have the effect, all right. Yeah.
It is
called second-hand smoking, you know what I mean?
But that's right, quite correct.
Second-hand smoking, yeah. Because I tell you the honest about it now, Mick, you were a man there ahead of your time. And as well as that, people going in. I remember years ago saying to a girl that she worked in the betting office, and I was saying, why don't you stop smoking at the counter? Because she couldn't tolerate it. You see, there were other places that were full of smoke as well. And long story short, Mick, when you go into a bar, obviously, look, people then are coming out after getting their fresh hair done with the smell of smoke out of their hair, and they've been on smokers. Right. Yeah.
And ladies in particular, like, I mean, there's a woman inside for 2 hours inside getting their hair done, and there's people inside smoking, you know, and the person who got their hair done mightn't smoke at all. And like they have to go home and wash their hair again to get the smoke out.
Right,
No,
yeah.
people don't realize that. But it's the
No,
best. It was the
no.
best thing that ever happened in our country, anyway. You know, to ban smoking.
Yeah, I'd say no, it was, like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be, you know, even though I am a smoker myself,
I know. Yes. Yeah.
I still believe time in the place, you know what I mean, for it. But
Oh, there is, yeah,
this
there
is
is, yeah.
me.
But people are very good. People are
Yeah.
very good nowadays. They are very conscious of other people, you know, when they are smoking, especially the young people, you know.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Nick, is there any other good stories I have before I hit the big question at the end?
Well, like, it's the people that you meet, Eugene. I mean, I remember when I started off in 1966. My father served his time in Killarney with a guy called Bill Sullivan, and Bill Howard Sullivan. And he used to come up every maybe 2 years to visit my father, a lovely man. His son actually only retired last year at 80 years of age, below in Killarney, Sean Bond O'Sullivan. And I was called out every 2 years to him to say hello if I wasn't going up to Killarney playing golf. Gas man.
Yeah.
But when I started off in 66, the people that would come into the shop, it was never a business. It was a family way, because I knew if there was a wedding, a funeral, a confirmation, you were told everything. But the characters, we used to have the busmen, we used to have the doctors, and I can tell you, I used to be laddering as a young fella at 15 years of age on my summer holidays inside, and I'd be laddering away, and the guy would be after working on a faucet boat, and they'd come in, they'd be kind of red, the beard wouldn't be shaven maybe for 10 days, and you're laddering it. And my father's brother said to me, Jesus, boy, he said, you should take up painting. I'd have a big ladder, which would be trying to keep it soft with olive oil. So to make it nice and easy for my father and my uncle and one of the other barbers to shave, you know. But it was great, and the stories would be fantastic. I remember getting a tip off the dockers. I got broken chocolate as a tip. It came off the boats, right, and it was fabulous, you know. And they were lovely people. The salt of the earth, you know.
Exactly.
So I've been very lucky. I've met some great people. You might have a nod, Barney, now and again years ago, over something like, it might get a bit hot, but I was always level-headed to keep my cool. And you have to run with the hair around in certain things. But fantastic people.
Well, hang on, Mick. Right. A time will come in our lives, Mick, right, when we'll all pass on, right? And we probably all will get to the gates of heaven. Now, when you get inside the gate, or get inside past that threshold, or whoever was the bouncer on the day, or whoever was on the day, who would you like to meet? Who would be the first? I know outside of our loved ones and nearest and dearest that passed on, who else would you like to? Who would you make a beeline across that? Or was he or she there?
Yeah, a great friend of mine would be Paddy Short. Paddy played League of Ireland with Cork Celtic and Limerick and Waterford. And I was Paddy's groom when we got married. And he'd be one of the first fellas I would love to meet, because we travelled up and down the country at the matches and things like that. And he was the main driver. And Paddy had a fierce record for football. The only FEI Cup medal he didn't win was an FEI Junior Cup medal, because he didn't play enough of junior football to him, and like Jackie Morley, who was a drinking pal of mine in the Swan and Signet in Patrick Street. Any of the fellas I involved in football down through the years and a bit in the squash. They're outside their family. Obviously, it's the loved ones you love to meet. But they were my pals. They were the guys, Tommy Mullins, the Piercic man, Jay, big the Piercic man. In actual fact, Tommy Mullins was the guy who called me the Baldy Barber. He christened me that. And he used to be calling me Curly and all different things. But now the rest he died last year. The poor fella got dementia. In actual fact, his son is in the top 50 in the world for running. He's for running 50 kilometers and 100 kilometers. He lives in America. But I met great people. I was lucky.
You're doing that walk of life, like, you're doing that walk of life. Now, don't mind to hear a little bit about in the background. It seems to be a homely show. We leave it on that one. But Michael, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much for taking the time and coming on and speaking to us. And look, as I say to everybody, let's be careful out there. Now, remember where that was heard? Hill Street Blues. Hill Street Blues.
Quite correct. Well done. And thanks,
Right.
Eugene, for having me on.
Thank you very much, Michael. Okay.
And, all right, bye. God bless you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Mind yourself. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
It suits. Attire for all occasions. North Point Business Park, Blackpool, Cork. Proud sponsors of All That Matters Chat Show.